big thing that I'm worried about at the moment is actually the rise in commercial tensions between the US and China. And we're seeing an acceleration of the decoupling of the two economies, actually driven by both sides. Both the US and China are trying to force companies and to choose as much as they don't want to. We've just seen China release its measures to restrict the purchase of Tesla cars by a large number of state-owned enterprises and other sensitive industries, and that's because it views electric vehicles as a strategic industry, doesn't want the US to dominate that technology. And on the other hand, the US has passed supply chain orders banning companies who do business with the US government from using products from companies like Huawei or Hikvision. It's getting increasingly difficult to do business clearly across both jurisdictions. And with the US supply chain review coming out, we know that the only direction that further restrictions are going to go is they'll get tougher, and we can expect more and more regulations impacting on those supply chains. And I think that's going to be the biggest international impact of these tensions.
Right. And then to that point, Biden was saying that one of China's goals is to become the wealthiest country in the world, the most powerful country in the world, but he's not going to let that happen on his watch. But is that ultimately a losing battle?
I think it's very unlikely that China will get to US levels of GDP per capita. So that's our measure of wealth for at least the next 50 years, if ever. So I think the US is going to maintain its status as being richer than China. But of course, ultimately, its economy will become smaller just because China's population is so much bigger. COVID-19 has brought forward the date at which we think the Chinese economy gets bigger than that of the US in market exchange rates. We did have that in 2034, pre-pandemic. Now we expect that to happen a couple of years earlier in around 2032.
Ladies and gentlemen, that story came out on CNBC March 26, 2021. And they were claiming back then that they had at least 50 years before China would overtake the US monetarily, right? Not their exact words, but they were saying it was 50 years. Well, this week, in November 2021, 50 years have arrived in less than 9 months, because China is now the richest nation in the entire world. Well, look on the bright side. Kyle Rittenhouse won his case. Which one's more important? You being number one or Kyle Rittenhouse winning? And Joe Biden said this would not happen on his watch. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It happened on his watch. See, once upon a time, the U.S. had manufacturing jobs and there were more people gainfully employed. And then someone or someone's with a high IQ decided it would be better to send the jobs over to China. China not only got to manufacture products, they were given the blueprint of how to run these businesses. So what they did was they duplicated everything and sold their own products that looked very much like the US products. And in less than 20 years, they overtook the US to become the richest nation on earth. So March 26, 2021, according to the experts, because you know how these folks are, they think they're the expert this and expert that and got this knowledge and got that knowledge and know this and know that, right? But this is less than 9 months later, November 18th, 2021. And they are already in second place. What did they say in Talladega Nights? You know, one of the movies y'all are in. If you ain't first, you're last. Well, you're last, America. You're last. So I know This week y'all were somewhat gleeful over Kyle Rittenhouse. And then this Debbie Downer moment happened, and you just found out that you are no longer number one. What y'all gonna do with that old styrofoam number one finger, that sponge finger y'all always have up? We're number one. We're number one. I guess you're gonna have to throw those in the trash. Not unless you write a big old two on it. So, ladies and gentlemen, the US has lost their spot, and the shape that this country is in, they are never, ever going to be number one on earth again. America has an employment issue. They got a big issue called the Great Resignation, which they are waiting for another wave. There are less people entering the workplace than leaving the workplace. There's a supply chain issue. The shelves are empty in many retail stores and grocery stores because they heavily depend on China to get these things over to the country. And then everything is backed up at ports all around America, and inflation is happening. So, that being said, how the hell are you going to get back into the number one spot? You won't. Your number one days are now in the rear view mirror. Mm-mm-mm. I guess this is what we should expect with a high IQ, y'all. This is what you can expect. It is actually hilarious. It really is funny. These folks have ran around talking about how brilliant they are. They're smart. They know everything. And then we found out in a couple of articles last year and this year that their great, knowledgeable college students are getting their work done from Kenyans and Nigerians. and we found out about the college cheating scandal. And these people just cheat overall, ladies and gentlemen. They even cheat when they get on regular jobs. They never stop cheating. But see, you can no longer hide the inevitable. You just can't do it. When you locked down, you had zero economic backup plan. And you didn't even plan for a disaster in America at all because your arrogance made you believe that there was no way you could be brought down. But we are almost entering 2 years of you being brought down. You have not come nowhere near reaching 2019 levels in America, and you won't ever see it again. That's why your economists are now coming out and saying that this economic damage is permanent. And now that this news has come out, this is going to mean more business for China and less business for the US. And see, and every time you try to slap sanctions on, China can now come behind you and say, don't worry about the US. We'll give you whatever money and supplies you need. So you really are a paper lion from this point on. Y'all tell me what you think about this story. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe if this country was a little nicer and better and tried to right their wrongs, they wouldn't be in this position today, but they are. Peace.